Well, what a day. What a day. Good evening, everybody, and welcome back to the Dugout Football Channel, and welcome to a very special podcast where we're going to discuss Steven Gerrard to Aston Villa. Yes, Steven Gerrard has moved from Glasgow Rangers to Aston Villa, and I have to say the pictures of him whether the Aston Villa top are very, very strange. We do have a fantastic panel this evening. First of all, we have Mr. Steve Plunk. How are you, Steve?
Yeah, I'm good, mate. Looking forward to this. It's been an interesting day. So, it'd be good to listen to the thoughts of the panel. So thanks for having me on, by the way. Thank you.
My pleasure. We've also got Mr. Connor Niblett from the Cup Council. How are you doing, Connor?
I'm doing very good, thank you, mate. And yeah, like Steve said, it's going to be very interesting on everyone's thoughts on Stevie G's move to Villa.
Absolutely. Well, we do have a villain with us. A long time coming it has been since I have had this person on the channel, but I would imagine he is beaming with joy at this news. It is Mr. Chris Ellis. How are you, Chris?
Yeah, I'm good, mate. You okay?
Yeah, good. It's been a long time. I hope you're doing well.
Yeah, all good. Cheers. Thanks for having me on.
Absolute pleasure. We've also got a Rangers fan who will be feeling a little bit. Well, I think you'll be thankful for this. This is the guy who actually got Rangers to get their 55th title. It is Mr. Reese Russell. How you doing, Reese?
I'm all right, thanks. What's that old saying? My Scottish club is managerless, but my English club at the moment's fucked. Yeah, so like that's probably how it is. And yeah, I'm doing all right, mate. Thanks for having me on. It's a good panel. That's quite balanced out, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, absolutely. And also we've got another debutant on the channel. We've got Mr. Matt Purchase. How you doing, Matt?
Yeah, I'm not bad, thank you, mate. Yourself?
Yeah, I'm good, thank you. Thank you very much for joining us as well. Now, let's say hello to a few people, because there has been a few people in here as well. Hella is in. Slippy G's got the work cut out for him.
Right off the mat. Straight off the
What
mat.
a loss for Rangers. I thought Stevie would have stayed on to defend the title. This time he seems a little off, but if it's a Prem team come calling, especially as big as Villa, you cannot take it. I didn't see him leaving Rangers, not now. Oi, oi, says Tom May. Was a massive shock, to be honest. Could be a big mistake. Stevie could have done a few more years at Rangers and been an even bigger legend all the time in the world as he's young. Hello to I Love the Villa. Be interested to get your thoughts on Stevie G as well. You'll do all right. Can't wait to see LFC versus Aston Villa. Yes, we will get to the fixture list because, it's very interesting. Lampard to Norwich apparently in the cards. Tom, I can't understand that move, mate. I cannot understand that move. Why you would want the dreaded R above your name to take them down, I do not understand that. I know it hasn't been confirmed yet about Lampard. Hello to Jade Exley. John Moore, as a Rangers fan, I'm gutted, but as Villa will become more competitive under Stevie Defo, he will push them to the max. And Villa fans, Rangers fans, and Liverpool fans, let us know your reaction to this news. But we will start with the Aston Villa fan who is on with us tonight. Chris, how are you feeling about this appointment? And what are Gerrard's expectations this season?
I'm pretty happy, to be honest. I think after Dean Smith had been sacked, he was certainly someone that I thought of in terms of thinking who'd take over from Dean Smith. And, you know, you just got to read Rangers fans' comments and everything they've got to say about him to kind of understand and appreciate everything that he's done at Rangers, and then kind of take from that and work out, you know, how big of a move it is. Really, it's a risk for everyone. I think, you know, he's done well at Rangers, and he probably could have, you know, top of the league now. I think 4 points clear. Probably could have got second title in a row. Doing well in Europe. You know, that could have been something he could have added to his CV. But I think he's probably, you know, it's an opportunity, isn't it, to get to the Premier League. You know, it's probably a risk for Villa, but I think a lot of, you know, you can't really pick a manager and say there'll be a success. You know, as anyone, it's, you know, Mourinho's won everything in going in the game pretty much. He goes to Spurs, and you know, there is crap as they have been, and it's the same everywhere, really. But now I'm excited. I think he's probably the kind of guy that we needed in terms of, he's got high expectations, he's got that desire, that winning mentality. And I imagine there's going to be some of the guys there, who will have looked up to and will look up to Gerrard and watched him as a player and be thinking, wow, Steven Gerrard, no disrespect to Dean Smith, but they're kind of poles apart in terms of one having an illustrious playing career, the other not. Doesn't necessarily make a good manager, but I just think those kind of things, I think that they are important with the way that players can be these days. But yeah, I'm buzzing. Once it got announced today, I was like, I'm buzzing. I can't wait to see him. 20th of November, Villa Park against Brighton, buzzing, and really looking forward to it,
Yeah, and obviously he has taken most of his backroom staff. One being obviously Gary McAllister, who's actually had a spell at Villa as well. That'll help Stevie, won't it?
Yeah, I think so. I think he's going to know the club, know the way fans will react. There'll be little things like with every club, little things that managers do and I suppose don't do at clubs. Things that fans take to and stuff like that, and maybe the way that the fans are in the kind of general area and things like that. I think he'll know that, and he'll kind of Gerrard's not going to go in completely blind and not knowing what's going on. But with Gary McAllister having that experience, it's only going to help him.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, Connor, were you surprised Dean Smith got the sack?
Yeah. In a way, because of course the job that he's done at Villa, I think he's done a very, very good job. But it just falls down to that again. There's no time in football, really. I know that Villa, they've spent a lot of money, and the results haven't been the best. This season, you'd expect them to be more at the table, but again, it's not having enough time in football these days. You lose 5 games in a row and then get the sack. And, you look at it, is it an upgrade? It could be an upgrade, but of course, like Chris said, it's untelling at the moment. We don't know how Stevie G is going to perform at a Premier League club. He's done fantastic at Rangers, everything that he's done in the 3+ years that he's been there. But of course, Premier League is a whole different, ball game. So it'll be interesting to see, you'll see early signs of, the difference between the playing styles, I think. So, it will be interesting to see what happens in that Brighton game next week.
Yeah, absolutely. It's quite a tricky wee game to start off with. Obviously, having Brighton, but yeah, I think he will do well. Race, obviously, not the best of days for Rangers fans. Did you see this coming at all?
Just a little bit, I'll be honest with you. And the reason I kind of saw it coming is because he got called out about it a couple of weeks ago by Ella Dodds in the media, which I thought was absolutely fantastic. She called him out saying about his commitment to Rangers, and he said, "Well, do I look happy?" And we saw it 2 weeks later, he's now being linked with a Villa job. So it says it all for me, really. Now obviously he's gone, but her response to him was brilliant. She told him to go and suck it. She told him because she's basically proved him out for what he was saying. So she's basically proved him wrong by saying this is what it is. I'll be honest, I'm not particularly gutted for him because I think he's came in, he's done well. Now he's moved on. My only thing is he's made a stupid decision because, and it's not stupid going to Aston Villa. It's stupid because he's only won 1 trophy in 9. Yeah, it's a league title, but but he's in the League Cup semi-final. Well, he was until he quit. Now he's not going to have that additional thing on his record. We could have another trophy on his CV. So he's abandoned that. He was also still in the Europa League as well. So he was still in European football. Now he's decided to just go and leave. So I think if he wants to go to Villa now, there must be some sort of guarantee. But what I will say is I think he's made the wrong move. He should have waited until the end of the season. But then again, we'll see what happens for him. But
yeah, I mean,
moved on. Fair play to him.
Yeah, I mean, Steve, I'm pretty glad it's Villa and not Norwich.
He wouldn't have gone to Norwich. Just going back to the point about the interview last week when he said to the reporter, do I look unhappy? Do I look like a man who's unsettled? He's never getting into that conversation on a Rangers press conference, by the way. That's not going to happen. Irrespective of what he's feeling, he's going to send that back with a straight bat with no idea of what's going on in his mind. There are certain clubs that will come for you during your career, and Aston Villa is an established club with a great fan base, a brilliant ground. Their owners have got money. They're one of the wealthiest owners in the Premier League. Not a lot of people look into that. The squad's good. It's good squad. You've got Bailey and Bundia. You've got Ings. You've got Watkins. You've got Konza. You've got Mings. You've got the keeper Martin. You've got a great squad there to work with. I said to you before we came on air, Doug, that Steven Gerrard is a forthright guy that believes in his own ability. So taking Reese's comment, yes, he might have had the Scottish League Cup on his CV. He performed above expectation in Europe last season. So Europe knows what he's capable of with a limited squad in terms of can he win that tournament. No, he can't win the Europa League with Rangers. No disrespect to Rangers there, mate, intended at all. But when
Not truth, he wouldn't.
When the Champions League clubs drop in there, that puts Rangers further down the list in terms of the pecking order. This is totally a Steven Gerrard thing to do. He'll rock up at Aston Villa's training ground, pigeon-chested, bold as brass, as confident as he's been about everything he's ever done in his career from day one when he smashed senior pros at training in front of Jamie Redknapp, and he thought, hang on a minute, we've got one here. He's going to go into Aston Villa. The players will react to, and made the point before, the players will react to who and what he is. He's got a legacy in the Premier League of being one of the best centre midfielders the Premier League's ever seen, and players don't take that lightly. They do look at the history of the Premier League. Steven Gerrard is a big draw. He's a great recruitment for Aston Villa, and I think he'll do really, really well. He would never have gone to Norwich, mate. Like you said, why would you want an R on your CV when Norwich are
Lampard's plan?
Norwich are going down. Gerrard's job for me will be just to stabilise what's been a difficult start for Villa and play players in the positions that they should be playing in, like Watkins through the middle instead of giving him a wider berth where he's perhaps not so effective. But mate, the guy's got guts. He's got, he's going for the glory. He's going for the project. He'll be a great addition to Aston Villa, mate. I think he'll really do well there.
Yeah, absolutely. I think he is going to do a very, very good job. Matt, what's your reaction to this?
When I first saw him linked, I didn't think he'd do it because of obviously the Newcastle links last week. I thought he was going to go for an ambitious project. I thought that Newcastle might actually have interested him a bit more. I think he said it himself. Villa are a good club. Historic. They've got a European Cup.
Yeah,
you've got to think about that ladder. I mean, everyone seems to be thinking about the long term and Gerrard being Liverpool manager, and I think everyone just you need to just take that mindset out.
Yeah,
because at the end of the day, what were they expecting? Like him to if, say he did 5 years at Rangers and then came to Liverpool.
Yeah,
people saying, "Oh, he's not experienced enough; it's too emotional." But at least he's testing himself. You'd rather have someone who's got the experience of managing in that league as well. If he does take over, I mean, I personally don't want is to go down a sentimental route. We saw with Chelsea when they appointed Lampard after what he'd done at Derby. And no disrespect to Rangers, but you'd almost say if he'd gone from Rangers to Liverpool, it would have been similar for Lampard from Derby to Chelsea. But Aston Villa are a decent club. Obviously, in the past few years they've struggled, but they've always been sort of like a consistent Premier League team. They've always had that exciting football. They're one of the mainstays of the league. And when you look at the sort of players he's already got there, the respect that he will command from them, not just because of his playing career, but just because of how much he demands from his players anyway. I can sort of see them really doing well, and similar to the effect Rodgers has had on Leicester.
Yeah,
I can see him pushing the boundaries of the so-called Big Six. Maybe not this season, obviously.
I think that's key. Like you mentioned that about the players. Yeah, okay. There's some weak areas there, but Villa have got some decent players there, something to build on. It's not like it's I don't want to drag them into it again, but you look at Norwich and you kind of think, what have they got there to build on?
Yeah,
I think with Villa, we've got a decent team to build on, and some of you guys probably will know a bit more. But with Rangers, I think the last two transfer windows, he's not been able to spend. Is that an issue? He's not. What's he spent 20, £30 million or something, and the majority of that is has gone on the likes of Kent, Golson, Hadji, a couple of others. So he hasn't really had the opportunity to spend, and I think he's probably looked at that and thought, well, how can I improve year on year? I mean, he has done. When you look at it and you put it together and you look at it year on year, the improvement is incredible, to be honest. You go from finishing 30 points behind Celtic to then overtaking and winning the league, being unbeaten, conceding 13 goals. Probably looked at it and thought, how can I improve them further and further if I'm not going to get the backing financially? And we know in Scotland that you don't need a massive amount of money to end up being miles ahead of the rest of the league. But obviously, with 2 transfer windows, not spending any money, it's probably, I imagine, the Villa board have kind of said in January or maybe the summer, we'll give you X amount, which will be decent, between 50 and 100 million possibly. I think when we sold Grealish, and I think we'd spent Buendia, Bailey, Ings, best part of 90 million. So you round about breaking even on that. I think a lot of people kind of thought, well, with Grealish going, we expected to maybe plug a few gaps in the squad with the extra money. Spend 50 million, spend the Grealish money, but we didn't. And I don't know I think a lot of people probably thought, are we holding back something in case we do pull the trigger? Because it wasn't just a 5-game spell that ended was the end for Dean Smith. We've lost 18 games in 2021, which is more than any club in the Premier League, more than Newcastle. And when you look at it, I don't think anyone could argue when Steve Bruce left, I don't think anyone could argue that he shouldn't have been sacked. Newcastle were terrible. You look at them, they're one of the worst teams in the side. And footballing wise, I don't think we were much better. Most weeks you watch them, you kind of, with Grealish, we got away with it because you give him the ball and, it's not far off, give him the ball and let him do what he wants. He draws players to him, he creates that space.
Yeah.
Without Grealish there are some good players there and some very good players, but it's not the same. If Jack Grealish is £100 million player, you take him out the side, everything kind of dips. I think we need something fresh to just kind of inject a bit of life back into the players, but we haven't been great. And I'll try and I've sat there last couple of days trying to think, when was the last time we played good football? And I've watched Rangers in the past. I've got a bit of a soft spot for them, and Rangers play good football. And he's got that philosophy. And I think, okay, it's not just a case of you bring someone in, play football, great. But if you bring someone in who wants to play football, they're a winner, you've got good players, then hopefully it'll kind of transcribe onto the pitch. I think one of the biggest things is how he did in Europe, Europa League last season. On paper, realistically, you look at the Rangers side against so many teams that they came up against, and they've got no chance. They've got no chance. But some of the teams they beat, fair play to them. They were brilliant, and that came from, he kind of got 120% out of some of those players. You got them playing out their skin. They played a good way, good style, and I think as well that just Gerrard, his desire and his winning mentality just got that bit extra out of them. Because sometimes you look at it, and you're thinking, "Oh, Rangers got a chance against them tonight," and then you look and they've won. Fair play. I think that's probably. Yeah. I know obviously winning the title is massive. That's the biggest thing on his CV. But when you look at how they played and the teams they beat in the Europa League, it is really, really impressive. And I think that's one of the biggest things that kind of excites me, to be honest.
I was at those European games as well. I was at the European games, and it was a great sight to watch as well. And they do play good football. The only real concern is the difference now is he's going from the Scottish League to the Premier League, and that's the only real difference. The SPFL to the Premier League is a massive jump, but I will give him credit, he has gone smart about it. He hasn't went for a club that doesn't belong in the Premier League in the first place, which is Norwich. They don't belong in the Premier League. In my opinion, they should never be allowed in the Premier League. But Villa are a traditional club that should belong there, and they play good football, and it makes sense to go to a club of that sort of ambition. Build yourself. I'm not going to go on a wrong with it. I do think he's using Aston Villa as a stopgap. I think his eye, we all know his eye is on the Liverpool job, and that's no disrespect. But to be fair though, Villa have done it in Europe. They haven't won a league title in a long time, but the difference is though is they do have that pedigree and that history behind them as well. So there is a sense of he's still going to a club in England that has actually got history, not just a club like Norwich, which the only history they've got is finishing top 4 in 1992-93 when they finished in the top 3, and they've been irrelevant ever since.
Yeah, 100%. I think even if I suppose you don't want it to be a stepping stone, but if he does go to Liverpool, then he's got to have done well. Liverpool aren't going to be like, okay, let's have Gerrard. He's just got relegated with Villa, or they're just, they're in relegation battle. He's got to have done well. And I'm thinking, top 10, challenging for Europe. Top 6, 7 possibly. He's got to have done well for Liverpool to go. Okay, yeah, just because he's a Liverpool legend and he's had a decent start to his managerial career doesn't mean that he will get the Liverpool job. So it is like
he needs to earn it.
Yeah.
Whatever way he may never be Liverpool manager. He may never get to the point. That's a good point. At the end of the day, he's behind Linders in terms of if Klopp walked out tomorrow and Gerrard has still been at Rangers, it wouldn't be Gerrard Liverpool would turn to. There's a lot of ground for him to cover in terms of building up his credibility. And I was on a conversation earlier where there's a lot of people saying it's a disrespect to Aston Villa to say that it's a stepping stone or it's a stopgap. It's not. It's an interesting project that Gerrard needs to get himself involved in and show that he's got the wherewithal and the capabilities to improve that club and get them challenging for European spaces and things like that. Because whoever replaces Jurgen Klopp is on. It's like when you replace Alex Ferguson or Kenny Dalglish. It's an end of an era. It's an end of a period in time where a manager that will go down in the halls of fame, who's a legend within that club, has gone. The next guy in's got a massive job on at Liverpool after Klopp. It's a hard job. What Aston Villa will allow Steven Gerrard to do is showcase his skills in the hardest league in the world. And if you look at what he's doing, no disrespect to Rangers again, you'd swap Rangers' squad for Aston Villa's squad tomorrow. He's going to go and work with better quality players. He is. That's the reality of it. They are better players. Ryan Kent couldn't make it at Liverpool, and he's a superstar at Rangers, and that's the reality of it.
Yeah.
And Jermaine Defoe wouldn't get a game in the Premier League, but he still gets a game occasionally for Rangers. So it's not a disrespect to Rangers. It's a massive club, and the pressure for him to stop Celtic and get that 55th league title was as big a pressure as he'll ever feel in any job, because the expectation doesn't go away just because it's Scotland and it's the SPL, and there's a number of games which they should win, but this isn't a rite of passage to Liverpool Football Club. Absolutely not. He's got to roll his sleeves up. He's got to buy into what Aston Villa, what they're doing. He's got to get himself involved in the project, and he's got to show the footballing world that when the time is right for Liverpool to look at a manager to replace Klopp, whether it be straight away or someone else comes in and then he takes over from that person. He's young and he's got to prove himself. So it's not a rite of passage, not by any stretch. His focus is on getting it right at Villa, and he's professional to do that as well.
Yeah, definitely. Evening to James Dunlop, who is Evertonian. He said, evening. All Villa have took a gamble on this appointment. The big question is, if it doesn't go well from at Villa, does it ruin his chances to replace Klopp at Liverpool? Matt, what do you think?
Again, like I said earlier, this is where you've got to stop thinking about Gerrard as Liverpool boss when you're looking at this, because we don't know when Klopp's actually going to leave. Yeah, he's got a contract for 2.5 more years. But yeah, obviously, if he does well, then when that day comes, then obviously he'll put himself in the front runners. I mean, anything can happen within the next 2 years. I mean, you look at the likes of Brendan Rodgers, a couple of years ago, after his time at Liverpool, obviously he ended up at Celtic. But, he wasn't being touched by the top clubs. He was being linked with, when Burnley were linked with getting rid of Sean Dyche, teams at that end of the table. It can't harm his chances if it does well. But it's like Julian Nagelsmann was mentioned a couple of years ago, and now his name doesn't feature as highly when you're looking at when people are talking about Klopp going. But there's 2.5 years, anything could happen. We could end up having the worst run ever, to the point where Klopp just says, "Right, I'm going," and then you see where the landscape lies. Or he could come to 2 years' time and be like, "Right, I'm actually staying for another 3 years."
Yeah. Absolutely. And what a bird. Villa have tough fixtures after that. Yes. So I was reading that they've got Brighton, and then Chris, is it City after Brighton? Am I right in saying is it Man City at home?
No, we've got Brighton at home, Palace away, then Man City at home, and we've got after Man City we've got Leicester and then Liverpool.
Oh, so Rodgers, he's intensifying the Rangers-Celtic rivalry, And then that game on the 11th is going to be very, very interesting. And then the 14th of December, he's going to come up potentially against Lampard. So it's
Just
mental.
throwing it back there, Doug. You're saying about Rodgers. Don't forget that it was Rodgers' decision in Madrid in 2014, which made Gerrard decide to go to LA Galaxy rather than signing a new deal.
Yeah.
Which is very well publicized. So it just adds even more spice.
Yeah. I know Norwich is talking to Lampard. I've had my say on that. I just think it's absolutely ludicrous. All great managers start from somewhere who knows how his journey as a pager goes. He has that elite mentality. He's a winner. Villa fans should be very excited. Aston Boy says, I don't want him. I feel if he had a CV and wasn't Steven Gerrard, we wouldn't be looking at him. Wish we stayed with Dino. For sure. Could be 10 years up the road, the Liverpool job for I don't think it's going to be straight away. Anyway, one trophy in Scotland doesn't excite me. Would rather have Dyche or Wilder.
Just touching on that point, and it's just been raised there about keeping with Dean Smith. And I mean, personally, I was surprised to see him go. I mean, you look at Mikel Arteta at Arsenal, he went on a similar run, didn't he, where he hadn't won in, was it 7 games or something? Yet they've stuck with him, and now look, they're only got 2 points behind Liverpool.
Yeah,
I think that going back to what I mentioned before, it's not just that 5-game run. I think that you when you look at it, we're 2 points above the relegation zone, but at the same time 6 points off top 6. So it's almost like you wait too long, and the way we're going, we very easily could have got to the point of that run. The Man City, Leicester, Liverpool run. At the end of that run, we could have lost 10 games in a row. The way we were playing, we've been so bad. I think before this season, so not including this season as he'd left, but with Grealish being injured or suspended, Dean Smith only won 4 games as Villa manager in the 3 seasons he was manager when Grealish was out the side. 4 games.
Wow.
And I know people have kind of said, one trophy in Scotland doesn't excite me and rather go for somebody else, but we took a punt on Dean Smith, who'd previously managed Walsall and Brentford. And I think you look at his spell at Brentford, we as Villa fans, whenever we played Brentford battered us. They played us off the park. So we all looked at that and thought, bloody hell, Dean Smith, what a guy. But that's the Brentford philosophy. They always play that way. They have done. I think they had Mark Warburton. So they had Warburton, who I think he made the playoffs twice. Dean Smith went in, never made the playoffs with Brentford. Then he goes to Villa. He did make the playoffs with Villa, but I think when you look at it and you look at the players we had, most of them who are full internationals now, he couldn't. It was hard not to make the playoffs. And then after Dean Smith left, Thomas Frank took charge, and Brentford made the playoffs then, and eventually they got promoted. So it's why did he not make the playoffs at Brentford? And I'm kind of thinking, I love Dean Smith, and I think a lot of people have got this affection to him because of he's a Villa fan, local, all that kind of stuff. But at the same time, realistically, when you look at it and you look at the stats, the one I mentioned about four games won without Jack Grealish, and then this season the 3 games we won this season, we beat Newcastle, one of the worst teams in the league, beat Man United, who have been in horrific form, playing terribly. And we beat Everton, who are up and down. You don't know what Everton team you're going to get. Everyone, Watford opening day, battered. It could have been 6. We're playing teams and we aren't playing very well. Probably had two decent spells of football this season, and I'm talking 20 minutes here, 20 minutes there. It's a lot of things have culminated in it, and he may well have turned it around, but in football, people have to make those decisions because it could be that you are facing the back of a 10-game winning run, and it's only going to get worse before it gets better when it starts getting that bad. And I think even before we can properly have an impact on the side, I just get a feeling that Steven Gerrard being there and his mentality will just give us that kick up the backside. I mean, you look at the goals we conceded against Wolves, basic defending.
Yeah.
If he can teach us, if a ball comes into the box, head it clear and pass it to a player wearing an Aston Villa shirt, then we will improve, because we've not been doing that this season. But you look at the Southampton goal of the week, Friday, ball goes forward, Tuanzebe just watches it bounce in front of him. You can't let a ball bounce in and around the box. just basic mistakes not happening. And if we can't improve, Dean Smith not picking up on that, then we've got someone else in, and hopefully he'll tell them. And if not, I'm sure he'll give them a bollocking, like I imagine he did quite often, as the captain of Liverpool, and now and how he probably has done at Rangers as well. So
numerous times.
Yeah, I can imagine he's just that kind of guy. And what I liked about it, I saw an interview with him and Jake Humphries on the High Performance podcast, and he kind of said he went in with this mentality of knowing that he could improve Rangers, and they did. To go from finishing 30 points behind Celtic to unbeaten season, winning the league, playing great football. And he said it's like a kind of, you take away the blame culture from your players, and everything that happens is on the coaching team. And he's got a great coaching team that he's put together, and he's got them with him. At Villa, I don't think any of the coaches are going to stay on at Villa. I mean, Shakespeare went when Smith went. We've got 2 Muppets that came in the summer that have done bugger all, so they'll go. So I just think that mentality's got to help people, and I'm sure you'll have players looking at it and thinking, bloody hell, it's Steven Gerrard. And no disrespect to Dean Smith, I just feel that thing pulls apart, and that mentality you can't. I mean, look at Zidane. He's not a massively kind of masterful coach, but I think Zidane just being there at Real Madrid whenever he went in the voice, Zidane being there. Nothing amazing about the tactics he put out there. We had Zinedine Zidane telling them what to do. And it's that improvement that I can just see it happening.
The annoying thing as well, though, is it's one trophy in Scotland, but to be fair, he's actually a good manager. And it's actually quite funny. People the reason I brought up one trophy earlier on is because it would have been great for him to actually go and do more and then leave. But to basically dismiss, because he only won one trophy, even though it was a league title, then he gets the job to come to England and just dismiss him. What's Dean Smith ever won in his career? Fuck all. But then you look, but that's the mentality. Exactly. But here's another question, right? So, known Aston, he's a Liverpool fan on the grounds. Martin O'Neill didn't win anything in England that I can remember, but he won Scottish leagues. But then he got the Aston Villa job, and he actually had a very exciting team. I remember that Aston Villa team.
It was a great team.
It was one of the most
very,
exciting
very
teams I've
good
ever
team.
seen. So you can counteract that point by mentioning Martin O'Neill. I think as long as it's the right fit and he can actually build his team, because he's called him a bang average manager as well. I saw the comment. I disagree. I think that's bollocks. He's actually a very good manager. He's also a very proactive manager as well in terms of his changes, his responses, and he's not afraid to change his system. A couple of years ago, he was playing a 4-3-3 and he changed it. He went to a 4-2-3-1. He put Hadji as the number 10, then he flipped that around. He put Hadji back on the wing and he went to a 4-3-2-1. He brought his wingers in as wide forward. So he recognised a mistake, changed the system, still playing good football, changed it again. That's when he went unbeaten. He went unbeaten with that system. And it was the same system that he was embarrassing Villarreal. He was embarrassing the likes of Sporting Lisbon, all that. He was actually playing good games. The only games that he could really put on his record that really are shocking was the Hearts game, which I'm not even going to get into because that pissed me off because that was the only good game Joe Pereira ever had in his life. And it was also the sense he didn't win it in the semi-finals. He didn't win it in the final when he should have done. But he gets the responses, and his record against the likes of Celtic as well. That's his biggest rival. His record against Celtic was impressive. So if you have that, think about the teams in that similar position that match Villa. He clearly understands the position. I think it's the right one overall.
You look at it though. For Celtic, they were so dominant. I mean, how many? How many? It was they were winning back-to-back trebles.
Quadruple treble they did.
Yeah, quadruple trebles. It was insane. Celtic were brilliant, and I appreciate Celtic dropped slightly, but at the same time, it's hard to come into that dominance and take over and kind of see that. Like you say, his record against Celtic, he's coming up against the best side by far in the league and beating them. You look at the rubbish that had come in at it was the bloke before. Was it before Gerrard who said to the players, "Don't wear green boots because of Celtic"? Pedro.
Yeah, there was. Pedro Caixinha. Pedro Caixinha is one of the worst Rangers managers I've ever seen. One of them, not the worst, but he's one of them.
It was shocking.
The worst manager I've seen is Paul Le Guen.
They'd had other managers had gone into Rangers who more experience than Gerrard. You know, a better managerial career. Obviously, it was a big punt to take Gerrard there from what he'd done at Liverpool under 18s and stuff like that. And he's completely transformed Rangers. You look at a lot of people. I know Rangers fans are disappointed and stuff like that, but a lot of people probably appreciate that Rangers now are in a much better position than when Gerrard went in and took over. It's that that massive step up, and he's made that, and he's I think people probably look at it and say, okay, well, he's won one trophy out of 9. Okay, that's one stat to work off, but then look at look at how well they've done in Europe, as we've mentioned before. You look at how well they've done they're unbeaten, and you're coming up against a Celtic side that were, as you've said, winning the quadruple trebles and all that jazz. They were so dominant, and to break that is impressive. It's still a massive risk, but any manager you can never get a manager in and say, boom, like he's going to be perfect, unless you're literally going, right, Pep, take over at my Sunday league team, and you've got £1 million to spend. Aside from that, you're never gonna, it's always going to be a risk because you just don't know. Like, Mourinho's won everything, but it's always a risk when he goes in somewhere. If Klopp went somewhere else, it's not going to be a guarantee that he's going to be a success. Pep needs £800 billion to spend on new left backs, and then he's a success. It's such a tough job everywhere in football, isn't it? So it's a risk, but it's exciting. We could have risked on Neil Warnock. Hasn't really done anything in the Premier League, but we've gone for Warnock. If we go down, he's got the most promotions out of the Championship into Premier League, all that jazz.
Yeah, surely he's booking into a retirement home now, though.
Yeah, I think the one thing that stands out. I think the one thing that stands out is it's one trophy in 9, but it's one trophy more than what Pedro did, and Pedro spent all that money. Pedro spent all that money on shite that's now back playing in Mexico.
And it's also the biggest it's the biggest trophy in Scotland, the Scottish Prem. Exactly. That they've won back from Celtic in a decade. Chris, you've got to shoot.
I have, yes. Sorry, mate. I've got to be elsewhere in 15 minutes. Got to shoot.
Well, thank you very much for coming on, and I'll speak to you soon.
Yeah, nice one. Nice to meet you guys. I'll see you again, Reece, Connor. Catch you later.
It's good to see you, mate.
Thanks, guys. Up the Villa.
Cheers, Chris. Cheers. So we'll move on to the Rangers reaction. So who ideally is coming in, Reece, do you think?
Giovanni Van Bronckhorst. Like, flat out the bat, I honestly think he's the favourite to get from what I know, he is the favourite to get the job. And I think it's the right appointment for many reasons. One, even though it's a slightly similar league in terms of quality, he won the league comfortably with Feyenoord a couple of years ago. Very comfortable, plays very good football. He's also familiar with the club. He's familiar with Rangers. He played Ibrox in the late 90s. So if anything, I think it makes sense. You bring somebody in who's familiar with the club, who also plays good football. He's respectable in the game as well. I think when you think of Van Bronckhorst, he's... Well, I can't think of anyone who's ever said anything negative to say about Van Bronckhorst. He's a professional. One of the best right-backs I've ever seen as well. That's what he is, and he's great football. Balan mentioned the St Johnstone manager there, like Davison and all that. Like, he is being linked as well. Russell Martin's also linked. Funnily enough, the De Boer crap's being linked.
Oh, God, I hope not. Frank De Boer.
Both of them. Ronald De Boer, I'm okay with. Frank De Boer sucks. Funnily enough, Daniel Farke's linked. Kicked him to fuck.
What?
John Terry was second favourite this morning.
He was, yeah. Daniel Farke's on that list. I'm like, what the fuck's he doing on a managerial list? He belongs in a bloody tip. That's where he belongs.
Well, does the Rangers...
Gattuso as well was linked, but I think the right choice and the smart choice is Van Bronckhorst.
Does the Rangers chef have German spicy sausage? Because I think that's what Daniel Farke seems to like.
It's definitely not going to work on that sense. I actually think if Farke came in, Farke would ruin the club because he can't organise a defence. Yeah, he plays attacking football, but it's not good enough because he doesn't know any other way to manage a game out. He's actually a very shit manager. I wouldn't even want him managing a Sunday League team. In all due respect to him, no, I don't rate him as a manager. I hope he doesn't get the Rangers job, and if he does, I will be sick 24/7.
Derek McInnes was another one being mentioned, but I just don't get. I don't get why he would go.
Said no.
I did see something that was, I think, Derek McInnes until the end of the season, which I don't think a caretaker is someone you need right now.
I don't think they need a caretaker. I think they can just bring somebody in the long term and just run with it, because the squad's in a good position. We're in the semi-finals of the League Cup. We've got Hibs, which, to be fair, is a good match. I think that should have been the final, in my opinion, because it's the two best teams right now.
Yeah.
All due respect to Celtic. Celtic are still rebuilding. Hibs are better quality than them at the moment. But I think whoever comes in, they don't have to really change anything. All they have to do is just get the players on their side and just continue. I think if Van Bronckhorst comes in, or even if it was like a different type of manager, just get the players on your side and just keep playing, because the players are the top. They're the top of the league. They don't really have to change anything. And then if they want to make changes, do it in the summer when it makes more sense. But I don't particularly mind. But the one I do not want is Daniel Farke. McInnes, he did say no to the job though 4 years ago. Like he did say no, and I doubt he'd get it again, even though he is a Rangers legend.
I remember the outcry from, I think, Rangers fans saying, "Oh, he's making a big mistake." Yeah, but making a big mistake. But actually, it kind of benefited him staying on at Aberdeen, albeit he did get the sack in the end. But
at least we proved he wasn't the problem at Aberdeen. At least that. That proved that he wasn't the problem.
Yeah, absolutely.
Here's an interesting question I've got for our Rangers guest there. Obviously, Celtic and Rangers have dominated Scottish football for absolute years. I mean, I'm struggling to remember a time when anyone other than those two actually won the Scottish Premiership.
Aberdeen 80s.
That's what I mean. It's a long time ago. Do you think, because of the uncertainty and obviously the rebuild job going on at Celtic, and also now this happening with Gerrard moving on to Villa, do you think that maybe by the end of the season we could actually see someone else top the table?
I think the only team you would look at, maybe based on consistency, is maybe Hibs, because but I doubt you're going to see anyone overtake Rangers and Celtic. But I think if any team was to do it, I think it would be Hibs. Hearts are a decent team. They've came up and they've proven why I think they're going to finish in the top four. They've proven it. But I don't think they're at that stage yet. I think they're still building. But I think if you're to put a team, I think, in all honesty, I would say Hibs. But I think it will still be Rangers again. I think Rangers will retain it, but it won't be like 20 plus points last season. It'll be a closer gap.
Yeah, guys, if you are enjoying the stream, then please hit that like button. And I've seen a few new people in here as well. Please hit that subscribe button. We're 9 away from 1.5k, which is absolutely amazing. This is an interesting question from Jamie Phillips, Football Chats. Emma Hees. She's doing a fantastic job
that would be interesting.
She's doing a fantastic job at Chelsea.
I'll be honest. I don't particularly watch Chelsea's. I don't particularly watch the women's game at club level. It's more like the international. Like I just, when I've got the time, I don't really know what she's like as a manager, so I can't really comment. But I think I would have to at least watch some games and at least assimilate first and at least get an opinion. But at the moment, in all due respect, I don't watch her. I've heard her do punditry and she speaks football really well. But in terms of actually watching her manage a team, I can't really comment, so I'd have to pass on that right now. In all respect.
And Anthony Dixon's actually said something here, which I think kind of makes sense. Steve, Duncan Ferguson to Rangers.
It's an interesting shout, that, isn't it? Because of his history there. But he came away from that neck of the woods because if he didn't, he was going to end up in prison because all of his friends ended up in prison, didn't they? And
that's right.
I don't know. He's well settled in the area. He loves Rangers, but he also loves Everton. So I think at the end of the day, he's probably recognises he's maybe not a number one in the same way that Gary McAllister is a number two for Gerrard. He recognises he's a better number two. He's settled in around the Ormskirk area, just outside of Liverpool. He's been at Everton forever.
I think if he was to leave Everton, I think it'd be a nice move.
Has he the credentials to go to Rangers and do that job? I'm not sure, because he got a response out of Everton because of who he is, because he's Duncan Ferguson and he's Everton through and through. He's got the tattoo and all of that stuff. But when the chips are down and you need to be a football manager, I'm not sure if Duncan Ferguson's done the miles and got the credibility to do that.
That's a good point.
I think one thing we haven't mentioned in this conversation is how pivotal Gary McAllister is for Steven Gerrard. First of all, when he came to Liverpool as a 37-year-old and taught Steven Gerrard how to be a model pro. And second of all, when Gerrard went to Rangers, that's the first person he went to speak to. So that's huge. Yeah. That's massive, and we shouldn't hide him under a bushel because he's been really, really great for Gerrard.
He was excellent up here. I can't argue that. He was phenomenal.
Aston Villa getting a great 1 and 2 there in that regard. He's a proper footballer professional. I think it's too big a job for Ferguson. I think the Van Bronckhorst thing makes sense for lots of reasons because the fans have an affinity with him. Mm-hmm. And he remembers good times at the club with Gascoigne and Richard Gough and Ali McCoist and all those guys when they were smashing it. So why not? Why not Van Bronckhorst? That seems to be the logical choice.
I think it'd be great as well because he's not the traditional Dutch-esque type manager where it's all about the total football. He still has the total football approach, but it's very rugged and it's you get stuck in. I watched one of the derbies a couple of years ago, Feyenoord versus Ajax, and it was to decide the league, and Feyenoord beat them 2-0. And instead of actually having the ball, Van Bronckhorst before the game had an interview and he said, "We're going to let Ajax have the ball and just watch what happens." Ajax didn't even get a touch on them. Ajax didn't get a touch on them. They battered them black and blue. Well, I was like, I would happily take that.
Well, Aldo McNaught is saying that Van Bronckhorst is at Ibrox right now, and what I'm hearing is right. He should be announced within the next 24 hours. Thoughts on this, Bears? I'm effing buzzing. Let's go. Hashtag 56 is coming home. Well, there you go. Billy, good evening to you. Can anyone understand leaving Rangers for Villa? I can only think that this is his Premier League trail to take over Liverpool down the road. Thoughts, Connor?
It's like the other lads have said. I don't think Stevie G is going to become Liverpool manager. I think Steve said earlier, I think Pep Lijnders is the guy. If Jurgen was to walk out the door right now. And look, it might be a bit too emotional for Stevie G becoming Liverpool manager, but look, the club will do it if it's the best time to appoint him. And the fact as well where Liverpool, look, I think it's a little bit disrespectful to go, it's just a stepping stone for him to go to Aston Villa. And that, because look, Villa are a huge club. Look, they've won the European Cup. They've won many first divisions in history. And it just goes to show that it's easy enough to stay at Rangers, I think, and, defend the title and that. But look, Stevie G, he's a very ambitious person. We've seen that Liverpool firsthand where he would, give everything for the badge. And look, he's been at Liverpool for that long time. He's seen the best and the worst at Liverpool. He's seen, Gerard Houllier, Rafa Benitez, and then seen, Roy Hodgson and then Rodgers and he's seen the worst. But
there was only one benefit when Hodgson was manager was just how easy it was for away tickets. Yeah,
exactly. But it's that fact that he's taken a piece from every single one of those managers, and he knows what it's been like to play for that. So he knows exactly what to do, and to go the Premier League's a big. It is a big task, but he's more than capable of doing it. I think in the Premier League.
This is a very interesting question from Chris Welsh. What is Aston Villa's future targets? If it's top 10, then that's doable. If it's top 6, that'd be hard to do with other teams battling for top 6. What do you think, Matt?
It depends, like the time scales. I mean, I don't think they're looking at top 6 this season, but if you look at what he did at Rangers, his first season at Rangers wasn't the best. But look at how he came and how he ended up going above and beyond. And look what he did. Was it unbeaten at Rangers all season or something? He was crafty. I mean, you've seen what Jurgen Klopp's done at Liverpool, and you see a little bit in the managerial style with Gerrard that he sees what the problems are, and he looks at the best way to solve it. I know Gary McAllister is a big influence on that. He doesn't look to just get anyone. He looks for who can do this, who can do that, who's gonna run through the skin. I mean, obviously a lot of people wanted Gerrard to get rid of Morelos straight away.
I'm glad
Gerrard, he didn't. Why? Okay, he's a bit of a hothead, but by working with him, look at the response. scoring goals. And, he reminds me of Diego Costa, Alfredo Morales. But I think that if Villa can get in the top half this year, it'll be a success. But I don't see why they can't challenge the top six when you sort of see the wobbles that Tottenham have, that Arsenal have had. In is it the end of next season? Guardiola's meant to be going. City could easily end up. Obviously it probably won't, because they'll end up going out and spending like £500 million, and obviously, but you think if Gerrard can get it's more about the squad, because if he can get them playing the way that he wants, why can't they challenge? I mean, you wouldn't have put Leicester up in that top six bracket years ago, would you?
Yeah. This I 100% agree with. Lampard to Norwich might be the strangest appointment ever. Yeah, absolutely.
I think it's the funniest one ever.
A question for Reese a minute. Reese, do you think that Stevie could bring someone from Rangers down to Villa? Maybe we should.
I think there'll be one. I think there'll be one signing from Rangers, and I think it would kill me, but I think it makes a lot of sense. I think the one guy he'll sign is Glenn Kamara.
Really?
Aye, I think so.
Because I look at that Villa midfield, and I know Chris is away now, but when I look at that Villa midfield, they're a bunch of pussies. Honestly, I think there's no spine in them. Bar maybe John McGinn or Douglas Luiz, but the rest of them, I don't see a spine or a sense of when they get dismantled, they don't actually fight. Yeah. But I look at it and I think Glenn Kamara, he's energetic, he's good on the ball, he's got a good pass on him, but he's not afraid to get stuck in either. And I think a player of that, where we signed him cheaply, we signed him cheaply. Like 250k, something like that. It was that cheap. I can't remember the exact fee. It was cheap though. We signed him, and now he's been valued at around 10 to 12 million. And the Premier League clubs want him. Like Crystal Palace wanted him. Vieira wanted him. Vieira wanted him at Palace, which says it all. Aston Villa wanted him, I think, a couple of years ago. And a few other teams wanted him. The only players I don't want to see go, although it wouldn't surprise me, is the likes of Ryan Kent, Ryan Jack, and James Tavernier. If he takes one of those three, I'll freak. But I think Glenn Kamara's the one.
This comment sums what's happening right now. Gerrard, Vieira, Lampard all managing the Prem. Why not get Keane back as well?
I would honestly, I'd be all for it. The question is, where does he go? I would be as well.
Luke's nailed on Ian at Lampard to Norwich is done. Evening to Statman Stubbs. Steve, hope you're doing well. I would have said Hadji is more likely for Villa than Glenn. Interesting.
Nah,
Lampard strange appointment
after
Chelsea.
Go for Ryan Kent, to be honest. With
Kent
the Premier League experience.
Doesn't need another wide man at Villa. That's the last
if he was to take him, he needs to cough up 15 to 20 million. That's the only thing. Need to cough up 15 to 20 million. 15 to 20 million. That's it.
So the Liverpool reaction, Steve, I've obviously put in there too soon for him, or was it the right time to leave Rangers? What did you think?
It's the right time. He completed it, didn't he? Invincible Centurions. Where'd you go after doing that? Like I said before, we saw what he did in Europe last year. He punched above his weight. He had no right to be competing with the teams he was competing with. Reece, you were quite right when you said that before. So we know about that. We know about his credibility in Europe. We know that works. He wouldn't have gone to Newcastle because it's an unsettled project. And in the summer, if they stay up, they might look at replacing the manager, because there might be a big name out there that will take the millions and millions of pounds and come in and spend £500 million. You can spend what you want for 2 years if you're a new owner of a football club before FFP kicks in. So Newcastle could spend £1 billion if they wanted to. This is a really good move for Gerrard, despite what other people think, because Aston Villa is an established Premier League football club. Their owners have built a franchise in America that's gone on and won their respective sport. So there's lots of positives for Gerrard to go to Aston Villa. I'm still not, I said before, if Klopp walked out today, Gerrard would never have been in a conversation to replace him. So it is a good move. Look at that comment.
I don't want to laugh because as a United fan, I don't want to laugh, but it's true.
No, but it's it is the right time for him to do it. There are some jobs that get offered to you that you can't turn down, and no disrespect to Rangers, because he's done great things up there. Rangers is a massive, massive club in its own right. Mm-hmm. He would never have been looked at for Liverpool if he'd come directly from Rangers. He wouldn't have even been in the conversation.
Connor, this is interesting because Anthony Dixon is saying, here's one, Gerrard's first signing, Curtis Jones. Jones was his captain in the youth team.
What's interesting just on that is Curtis Jones was linked with Villa in the summer at a cut price deal as well.
It was.
Rangers actually wanted him when he took over originally. He wanted Curtis Jones on loan.
But Curtis Jones is one of those players that is full. Jurgen Klopp is full on. Like, if you're looking at any, Curtis Jones is at the minute being, third or fourth choice contender for the Liverpool midfield. It's like Gerrard will probably look at Liverpool, look at the youth system, look at the fringe players, and go, "Oh, could we, sign someone for this amount?" It won't be anyone that's in the main 11 or main 15.
I think if he did get Curtis Jones leaving on loan, I think even if he used to get him on loan, like get him some more minutes, because he's particularly playing like week in, week out, I don't think. But if he was to get him, like, say for example, on loan, I think that'd be decent, because at least he would go straight into that midfield. Realistically, it would go straight in. Like, I would say Luiz, like in that pivot role, because he's going to change the system. He won't play 4-2-3-1 at Villa. He'll change it. I think you would see Douglas Luiz playing on his own in the one, say, number 6 role, and I think McGinn would play in that 8 role, and I think he would try and play Curtis Jones as more of like his playmaker. I think it'd be a smart move. It just depends on what he wants, but I think, in all honesty, I think if he signs anyone in January, one of the first people he tries to sign is Glenn Kamara.
Do we think that he'll go? Do we think he'll go when fit? Do we think he'll go over Danny Ings over Ollie Watkins, or Ollie Watkins over Danny Ings?
I think he likes that number 9 to. He likes that number 9 that will drop off, and he likes somebody who has that physical presence as well and holds it. I think Danny Ings is going to be his number 9. I think Watkins will play either on the left hand side. He'll play as a left-sided forward, or he'll play off the bench. Either way, I don't particularly think it's a bad decision either, because you could rotate between the two of them, and I would hate to start with Danny Ings against you, where he can bully you. And then after that, Watkins comes on with his injection of pace against knackered legs, and he runs ragged at you. I think either or works. Yeah, absolutely. Steve, you're going to have to head off.
I am. Yeah, I'm working tonight, mate. So
unlucky.
Bits and pieces to do. It's from home, so it's no sweat.
Oh, that's right.
And thanks for having a chat about our Stevie G, mate. And we'll watch with interest, won't we?
Yeah, we will indeed. You take care,
Cheers,
right?
guys.
Good seeing you, mate.
Cheers. See you later.
I'll say this as well. This is another thing that stands out. If I was one player in particular that should be really happy right now, that name's Leon Bailey.
Oh, 100%.
I think as a winger, like Gerrard really does like working
I'd
with
also
white
argue
players.
John McGinn. I'd also argue John McGinn. I think Gerrard will get the best out of John McGinn as well.
Easily.
And Dixon is saying, don't be surprised if we loan 1 or 2 to Villa.
Who do you think would get loaned out? Because I look at your squad realistically. I don't think, if he wants to build a team, with all due respect to your academy, which is actually quite impressive, because I watch a few like your games, especially when you play Man United. I look at it and I don't think he'll look to your academy. I think he will look towards the fringes or anyone who's like on the brink of your first team. Like, I think Curtis Jones would make sense, but I don't see, as Connor said, because he's like the third or fourth choice. But
Nico Williams maybe at a push.
He's left back, isn't he? Nico Williams. Right back. Yeah. Is he going to get ahead of Matty Cash?
I don't.
That's the only player I can think of at the top of my head.
Because I'm not sure. He's not going to take Origi because he's got a brain. So
I reckon he might go for Minamino.
I'm thinking Minamino, actually. I was thinking Minamino.
Look at his loan spell at Southampton last year, and the fact that his only opportunities have come really this season in the League Cup. Obviously, Minamino and Origi have basically been Liverpool's only goal scorers in that competition this season.
He's a decent player, Minamino.
But I could just see, and you think about last year when he went to Southampton, Danny Ings was there as well. So, there's that link up already. So, I wouldn't be surprised to see him going for another loan.
Can you bring up the Villa squad, mate, if you can? Just like even like their wide players, and just see if there's anyone in there maybe would look to move in. Because I can only think realistically of like the obvious few. Like,
has someone put the Villa squad in the comments, or
No, I'm not sure. I was just asking if like yourself, but I'm just thinking like obviously like, Leon Bailey stands out. I think they still have.
Thank you, Waterbird. Thank you. Appreciate you joining us.
Good to see you, Vicky. Oh, Tom says.
I thought that was Vicky. Do you know that?
Yeah,
I thought that was.
Asked her to join. Asked her to watch. So.
Oh, excellent. Leicester till I die. Evening, Chris. Brendan couldn't wait to leave Celtic. Stevie couldn't wait to leave Rangers. What does that say about Scottish football? Well, it's just a shame.
Trophies up here.
Yeah, Watkins play on the wing. Did it at Brentford and with Exeter in League 2 days. Oh, best day of a great night. John McGinn for Curtis Jones. I think he would want to keep John McGinn, but I'm a big fan of John McGinn. I'm not going to be
best midfielder, mate. Be honest, he is our best midfielder.
He is best midfielder for Scotland for sure.
That's for sure.
Yeah. Downturn. If you have obviously just joined late, there is Giovanni Van Bronckhorst seems to be the one that seems to be getting.
I honestly think he's getting the job, mate. I honestly think if Rangers did not bring him in, it would be fucking useless of a decision from the board.
That's a shout actually. Matt Chamberlain, Ox.
Energetic box to box midfielder. The only thing is though, and I think we can all agree, is keeping him fit.
Yeah, not as far as I've heard. I'm a Rangers fan. Okay.
I'm looking now at his squad. So their wingers, Jesus Christ, they've got. So in terms of they've got
Origi for 80 million, Jack. if we manage to get 80 million for Origi, like Michael Edwards, that would be one of his first and last things to do.
Just play a Champions League compilation and you're sorted.
Yeah.
I'm looking at their squad now. I've got it up now on Transfer Market. So in terms of wingers, he's got Leon Bailey, Trezeguet, and Philogene, but actually I've never heard of him in my life. But they're all registered as left wingers, and then the right wingers registered are Buendia, Traore, and El Ghazi.
Yeah.
So that's not too bad. And he's got his midfielders like Douglas Luiz and Lakamba in defensive midfield, and then 3 central midfielders of Wemba, Sanson, and McGinn, obviously.
Who has a first name Marvelous? Like that has to be the most weirdest names to have come up. Dane Smith done a good job at Aston Villa. I've always felt when things don't go well, seems to be that person who likes leisure. Apparently he's speaking with Norwich. So it looks like it's Lampard or Dean Smith to Norwich, because I can't imagine Hasenhüttl will leave.
Hasenhüttl will leave Southampton. He won't. I don't think he'll leave Southampton unless another job in like Germany.
Jones or Ox says Tom. I'll get it. Just go here. Thanks, guys. No problem. Cheek PM at sent the Villa squad to you. Thank you, Ian. I appreciate that. As well.
I didn't realise not long ago I actually went to college with him.
Yeah. Yeah, he's actually been in the he was in the chat for one of my shows previously as well. But look, I think that we are going to watch this with big things for sure. And to say Newcastle 100 million in January, Origi, and then Chris Welsh has said whoever says Hasenhüttl needs to go live with the birds in Narnia world.
He's a good manager. Don't put that lot of disrespect on him. He's a good manager.
Yeah, he's a great manager, but he's not going to down tools and go to Norwich.
No way
as well.
No way. He'll take one look at Norwich and go, "I'd rather sleep in a fucking pigsty." That's what he'll do.
Just very, very interestingly, because obviously I have brought this up. Gerrard's managerial record at Rangers was absolutely magnificent. So 193 games, 125 wins, 42 draws, and 26 losses. That's a win ratio of 64.77%, which I believe is one of the highest of any Rangers managers. Reese, if I believe.
One of them, yeah. I mean, I look at other records and I think the only ones that are better than him, I think, is McLeish and Walter Smith. I think. In terms of the modern period, I think anyway. But he's up there with one of like Rangers' best managers. He's not the best ever because he would never get into that bracket. But in terms of the modern era, I'm going to go on a limb and say he's the best Rangers manager since Walter Smith, when Walter retired 10 years ago, because
I look at the show looks just like my record of watching Liverpool.
I look at the
Jamie.
managers Rangers have had. Unlucky. I still look at the managers Rangers have had since Walter Smith. Obviously, Alan McCoist was in a horrible situation after what happened originally, but he still got Rangers at least to the Championship. Just could not make it to the Premier League because the one thing he did wrong was he kept relying on players that frankly weren't good enough, like Ian Black. I'm not even going to go there. But
oh god.
But then we got Then we got
Ian
McCollin. Then we got McCollin as an interim manager after him and his assistant after McCoyson's assistant got sacked. We got McCall, who got pumped off Motherwell in the playoffs. Then got Mark Warburton. Warburton gets to the Scottish Cup final, loses to Hibs. I was annoyed that day. But he still got Rangers promoted, playing very good football. Got to the Premier League and he bottled it. Murty came in, replaced him. Then Caixinha came in. He got the sack because he was crap. Murty came back in. Then they looked at experienced managers, but they went and got director of football first, which was smart. Then that's when Gerrard got the job because they looked at him and they thought, okay, he's not got experience, but he actually got a way he wants Rangers to play and set out to win. And I remember his first game was a 2-0 win in a pre-season friendly, and it was an exciting game to watch. Yeah. And it says he's changed. He's built a very good team. Yeah, he's had to spend money, but then again, against Celtic, you have to spend to compete with Celtic. Celtic were penny pinching for years. Celtic are the Arsenal of Scotland. That's what they do. They penny pinch. But they had good quality to at least build on it. And the team they had under Brendan Rodgers was exciting to watch, even though it's a rival club. I have to at least acknowledge the fact they went 68 games unbeaten, won quadruple trebles. It's not easy to do. I don't care what league you're in. That is hard to do. Win every single major trophy back to back to back to back. It's never been done before. And I commend that and Rodgers' respect. We then won the league, done him very well in Europe, went unbeaten in the league as well. Very minimal. Conceded only 4 goals at Ibrox all season. Mm-hmm. I look at it and I think he's had a fantastic career at Rangers. My only annoying thing is that he's left prematurely, 12 games into the season, when he still had the Europa League to play, although we're not going to win it. He still had us in it, so he could have got us out the group and keep playing knockout stage football. And he was in the League Cup semi-final against Hibs. If he had won that, it would have been great for him. But still, I look at it and I think he was better than Pedro, much better than Mark. Probably the best Rangers manager since Walter Smith's second reign, when that ended in 2011. And I'll go on a limb on that one.
And the thing is, Matt, that a lot of these managers who have actually been in the SPFL actually go to Aston Villa. You can think of Alex McLeish. I think he went from Scotland to Aston Villa. Yeah, Martin O'Neill. Paul Lambert, I think, was another one as well. And obviously we have Steven Gerrard.
It's an interesting recruitment policy, isn't it, by the team? I think, but one thing I will say, and I'm surprised it's not been picked up by other people, is I wonder how much of an influence Christian Perslow was on Gerrard's decision, because there was the talk. There was the talk last week of Newcastle, and Gerrard obviously he raised that odd comment in the press conference. Obviously, he was being respectful and anything. But and also the other thing is Newcastle have the money, but Christian Perslow and Gerrard know each other from their time at Liverpool, so they know each other inside out. So I do wonder whether the reason Gerrard has chosen Villa, like a week after seemingly saying no to Newcastle, I just wonder whether that may have come into it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think so. And I think it's another way to be sort of closer to his family.
Move. I think I look at that and I think if he'd went to Newcastle, I respect Eddie Howe, but Eddie Howe, you've literally made the worst mistake in your life, because we already know it doesn't matter what team he builds, he could sign. We already know he's not going to sign great talent anyway, because that's not what Eddie Howe is. Eddie Howe
signed Dominic Solanke for 50 million.
I'll have to look at that.
Divock Origi for 90.
But I look at it and I think
that'll be nice.
I look at Eddie Howe, and Eddie Howe's in the worst position of his life, because just like when Abramovich bought Chelsea and Ranieri was in charge, he was only a scapegoat. Like you're going to go and get the absolute best manager in the game once you're ready to go. So Eddie Howe is quote unquote he's buggered. Doesn't matter what he does. Like he has got the biggest war chest on the planet, but that biggest war chest is going to get dropped off him like a nuclear bomb, because it won't last long. He'll be gone within a year and a half. Eddie Howe will get the worst sacking you'll ever see in football. I honestly believe that. He will get dumped on his ass, booted out of St James's Park.
I think the end of the season. I think they're waiting until the end of the season because a lot of the more
Top
high-profile
teams.
managers who Newcastle would probably look to go, their contracts, they might have a couple of years, but most of them aren't going to abandon halfway through a season. So I would not be surprised.
Just stay away from
if it
Ajax,
comes
you
to like
magpies.
June the 1st and Eddie Howe is gone and they're bringing in somebody from Europe, mainland Europe that's a top name.
As long as they stay away from Ajax, the Magpies, I'll be happy because that's where my eyes are on. My eyes are on Ajax.
Who's in charge at Ajax these days?
Erik ten Hag.
Okay.
Yeah, he's a very good manager. He's managed to get them through a group with Borussia Dortmund.
You can't deny
Didn't he absolutely annihilate Dortmund as well?
4-0.
4-0. Then I think it was 3-1.
4-0 at the Johan Cruyff Arena, and they beat them 3-1 in the Westfalen Stadion. And they didn't just beat them both times, they battered them.
Yeah.
The red card didn't help, though. Like the Hummels red card in the second leg, but to be honest, red card or not, Ajax were just tearing them apart. If they don't win anything like a European trophy under Ten Hag, then I think that'd be a damn shame because they're such a good team to watch.
I think they were so unlucky as well with the semi-final v Spurs a couple of years ago. That was just
They should have been in that final. They should have been.
Oh, good question, Chris. Who would Reece like as next Manchester United manager?
Erik ten Hag, mate. Erik ten Hag. I want Ole sacked tomorrow, and I want Ralph Rangnick brought in until the end of the season. Put Rangnick upstairs in a director role, let him build the structure, or get Van der Sar and put Ten Hag as the manager.
I've got a theory, and I put this theory on Twitter a couple of months ago. I deleted it now. But when Cristiano Ronaldo signed, my prediction was that Ole would not see out the season, and Cristiano Ronaldo would be playing manager. Reece, what are your thoughts on that?
Considering he doesn't have the managerial experience, I'm not sure. But I think when I look at him as a player and also as a human being, his determination it's off the scale. Like as a person, my only thing is he will want to play all the time. Do I think he could manage a team? I don't know, but I will give him credit where credit's due. It probably would be better than Ole, but I don't want it. I want an elite manager, not an elite football player to run the club. I want a manager.
He did take charge of the Euro 2016 final, where he's just there.
That's true. That is true. He did do that. He just walked in and just told them like.
And says Newcastle become Chelsea's second manager every 18 months. Jack Mack's got a very good question. Who out of this league's managers of ex-players of our generation will become the best in the next 7 to 10 players?
What?
You've lost me. Who out of this league's managers of ex-player of our generation will become the best in the next 7 to 10? Is that maybe
10 years? I think he's meant to say. Yeah,
because I was more wondering whether he was almost saying like who out of the current players do you think would make like the best manager? Because I was going to say James Milner.
I would still put even though he's gone to Barcelona, I don't think it's the right decision yet. I think they could have done better. I think not in the Premier
years.
League,
he meant to say years. So who out of this league's managers of ex-players of our generation will become the best in the next 7 to 10 years?
And is that Premier League only?
Yeah.
Premier League only. I do agree with Matt, funnily enough. I actually do agree with James Milner. I also think Juan Mata, personally. I think Juan Mata I think in terms of football, I think Juan Mata's got one of the best football brains I've ever seen. I think.
Is he still at United, Reece?
Still at United, yeah.
I've not seen his name mentioned for a while, so I didn't know if he was still there.
He barely gets a game though. Barely gets a game, but he's such a phenomenal player. I love watching Juan Mata.
Is he just fighting with Van der Beek just to see who's the cheerleader that day?
Pretty much. I actually wonder if Van der Beek could become a good manager, but then again, he would probably have an agenda against a certain region of players that he would bench. But I might go on. I was going to say the guy who had Spurs temporarily after Mourinho. I think he has a decent opportunity.
Ryan Mason.
I think Ryan Mason, funnily enough, has a good chance being a good manager. There's just something about him. The way he talks football, I think he's got a good approach to the game, and I quite like that. But yeah, Juan Mata for me. Juan Mata number top of that list.
Chris Welsh says, people said to Dan, I see him at PSG, Pochettino continues his bottle job mentality in France. Who's the Rangers fan player of the season so far?
Fashion Sakala.
Who?
For me. Fashion Sakala. The best
Sakala.
Football. Sakala, or even though he got injured, Ian's mentioned him. Haji. I think
Haji.
Stephen Davis has been outstanding as well. For a 37-year-old, the man's just phenomenal to watch.
I didn't even realize Stephen Davis was still playing either. I thought he
still playing. He's been amazing. He's been amazing since he came back to Rangers. So that's what I like about him. Like, he's just a professional. I think I think he will retire into the season though.
See, what I find interesting, Ant has just mentioned it in the comments there about December 11th. What's going to be even more strange about that is it's going to be a 3 p.m. kickoff, so it's not even going to be shown live on telly in the UK. When Gerrard
Liverpool Villa, yeah. I did see that.
Because they've already confirmed.
Just do a goal bridge. Just illegal scheme it.
Well, people will do, but what I'm saying is that's what's obviously a big thing is that obviously, unless you're one of the lucky 50,000 people who, like myself, who have a ticket for the game sorted already, it's going to be a big scramble that week to get a ticket.
I'll go on a limb and say that game does get televised.
No,
and
Man United wanted it when Ronaldo came back, and
that got televised. That game got televised though.
No, that was 3 o'clock on a Saturday as well.
The Newcastle game. That was on telly though.
That wasn't on British, like over here. It was on Sky Sports in Ireland, but not on Sky Sports in England. So they can't change it once it's.
I think it's crap that you can watch 3 o'clock kickoff. So they're the best games to watch as well.
Well, they were trying to change it. They were trying to change it at one point, weren't they? They were literally trying to get it changed.
It's banned. It's banned here. I think it's banned here, Afghanistan, and Iran as the only places in the world.
It's pathetic.
It's banned.
Like we should be watching these games.
The question is though, you've got to think like how many games are now moved from that 3 o'clock time anyway? There must be at least 6 a weekend moved. I mean, was it last weekend or the weekend before? They only had like 2 games at 3 o'clock on a Saturday. And it's like, well, I understand when there was a full program and you maybe had like 1 game on a Sunday, 1 game on a Saturday. You had 8 games at 3 o'clock. Like people may be like, because you're more likely to have got like a serious Chelsea at 3 o'clock. But all of the big games now, so-called big games nowadays, get moved. So it's like if you're playing, if like Liverpool, Man City, anyone in that top 10 Premier League teams is playing each other, it's getting moved for the telly.
Yeah.
With names linked to Man United, Man United should all out for Ten Hag. If you're able to pay the money, which they won't, only a good thing.
Weird thing. This is what I don't understand, right? And this is the logic of the United board. Is Ralph Rangnick has openly said 2 years ago he wants the Man United job, didn't get it because he wanted to run the academy and he wanted to run the club in his vision that he could build for the club to build success on. Smart plan, works. He then came out a couple of weeks ago and last week saying, I want the job. So sack the manager and bring him in. And then at least he can, after he's done an interim period, put him in the position to run the club on a director standpoint and then bring in somebody to succeed him. But this is the bit that annoys me, is Brendan Rodgers is a smart appointment, but Brendan Rodgers a year earns 10 million. United are willing to spend that, but Ten Hag at Ajax earns 2 million. Who's the better manager, boys?
Ten Hag.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I think it's a good appointment, but I know what I would rather want.
It's just the point of backwards thinking again, though, for Man United. Like Gary Neville is one of the most spoken Manchester United fans, and says United shouldn't be competing for top managers. Why?
That's because Gary Neville's a freaking clown. Simple as.
I'm glad a United fan said that, but it's like that. It's like why. Look, I'm absolutely enjoying Manchester United in this whole deep. Water thing.
I'm not.
I am. I'm absolutely loving it. But you look at it and you go, why shouldn't Manchester United compete for the best managers? You go out there, Zidane's probably going to go PSG. You've got Pochettino, Ten Hag, and maybe 1 or 2 others. But that's it. Brendan Rodgers, he's a good manager. He's a
top manager.
Yeah, exactly. We know this from Liverpool. Brendan Rodgers, he has a plan B. Once that doesn't work, it does fall apart. very quickly.
His plan B is burnout. All I'm going to say, I think he's a good manager, but he's not the right one.
Just on that point there, I don't see why he'd want to do at the minute with the current state of Man United. I don't think he would want to make a sideways move and to become Man United manager. I think that at the minute, Leicester and Man United are probably around that sort of like battling for that fourth place. I think, you've got, almost say Liverpool, City, Chelsea is the top three. And then you'd have Leicester, Man United, Arsenal, Spurs, all competing for that fourth spot. And that's why I think that it would not make sense. I mean, if he decides that's best for him, fair enough. But I personally would think he's got more chance of winning a trophy with Leicester in the next 5 years than Man United.
I think as well, the one job that he wants the most is Man City. After Pep goes,
my dad's a Man City fan. He actually thinks Brendan Rodgers will replace Pep.
Yeah. I think Brendan Rodgers calls out Leicester board was something I'm surprised United are interested in. Pay the money, please, says Ant.
That's the thing is Brendan Rodgers doesn't call out. Brendan Rodgers calls out, but Pochettino doesn't. So we all know which managers like the Glazers' favourite and which one would actually type for them. It's why they didn't bring in Conte. It's because Conte's that exact same approach. Conte calls out his board, but he gets success. United realistically should look at, in my opinion, two managers, right? Because one of them they're not going to get out of like the hardest job in the world, and that's Bayern Munich. You're not going to get Nagelsmann, who is my dream.
Hello to Ali.
I know, quality. I look at the Man United job, and you need a manager that does three things: plays exciting football, he does promote youngsters, and he wins trophies. There's only two managers I actually think would be interesting to see. One's Ten Hag. Yeah. Ten Hag is up there, and the other one is Luis Enrique. Yeah. And I heard this is the funny thing is I heard United fans when I was on a show last night, and we were discussing it, and people were saying not Luis Enrique, and I was like, why would you say no to Luis Enrique? I mean, that is like I think that if you didn't want Enrique, then something must be wrong with you, because he took a very slim squad to the Euros, which me and you, Doug, we called out as a mistake. He should never have done it. But he got to the semi-finals, and now he's won the Nations League with the same squad, but he's given them an even bigger boost. So I'm like, I know Nations League is crap anyway, but he still won it. Why would you not want a manager like Luis Enrique? Like he's done it at the top level as well. I would take him.
Just very, very quickly, Connor and Matt, how would you feel if Rodgers took the United job if Solskjaer got sacked?
I'd have no personal problem with it. I mean, it's a bit different if it was, say, Gerrard or someone who, when you look at the fact Rafa's gone to Everton, it's like, I'm more upset about that than if Rodgers went. Rafa won stuff here. He created so many dreams, especially for me as a mid-teens, as I was under the Rafalution, as we call it. But for me, he nearly won us the title. But to be fair,
lost. My apologies.
But that, because the fact he only knew how to play one way, that cost us. As soon as Henderson got sent off and we couldn't play the same way, that's how we dropped off for those last three games. Because of the Henderson red card, and I'll say that to the day I die, that if Henderson hadn't been sent off against Man City, we wouldn't have collapsed like we did. We would, And when you're 3-0 up against Crystal Palace, why are you pushing? Yeah, okay, it may come down to goal difference, but so be it. But you play the same way. You adapt to the game. You're like, all right, let's preserve this. We've got 3. Let's make sure we don't blow this.
Yeah, I agree. Absolutely. There is one thing though that does. I know it wasn't the rivalry as it was then, so it's a completely different standpoint because the United-Liverpool derby didn't, obviously. If the derby had intensified in the 70s, Rodgers would make a lot of sense because Sir Matt Busby was a former Liverpool captain, and obviously he's one of Man United's greatest ever managers. So that, in that respect, makes a lot of sense. But the rivalry is intense since then. It would be a different emotion. It would be a different emotion in that sense, but. I think if he came in, I think it'd be an interesting choice. But he's not even in my top 5.
I've seen a lot of United fans say no to Liverpool rejects, so I can honestly
I don't think
can
he'd be
honestly
the right
understand
choice.
that.
I think he'd be a decent choice. He's an upgrade over Solskjaer, but I want Ten Hag or Enrique, who are upgrades over all of them. Or even if Simeone.
Gerrard wouldn't manage the shite or United.
I wouldn't mind the Simeone under Man United just going up against Liverpool and Klopp, like just for the sheer shits and giggles.
No worries, mate. If Rodgers went to United, wouldn't bother me. He didn't win any titles, Liverpool. Well, that's simple. Guys, it's been
we got our revenge.
But just imagine Simeone managing Man United against you lot. You know your face. You would hate it. You would.
Guys, I am going to have to finish it there. Thank you very, very much to everybody who's been on the panel. Chris Ellis, lovely, fantastic to see. Lovely to see again. I've not seen him in a while. Nice to have Steve Plunk as well. Also to Mr. Connor Niblett from the Cup Council. You'll be live at 9 o'clock, I believe. Is that right?
Yeah. Talking about this very topic, Stevie G moving to Villa. So yeah.
Well, I will definitely share it on the community tab. Reese, thank you very much for coming back on as well.
Thanks very much, mate. It was good to have you. Obviously, you know me. I've been in a bit of an interesting personal spell at the moment, but yeah, it's good to be back, and I'm back in the office now as well. That's fun.
How does that actually feel?
Very odd, strange, but it's not too bad where we're at. I'll say this though, I don't think Rodgers would bottle top 4. I think he would make it because and then we'll see. But I do agree with that comment. Luis Enrique United will be a match, but yeah, it's not too bad. I'm actually on another channel in half an hour, so that's going to be fun.
Am I, believe it or not. I'm
on Dan's channel at 9 o'clock. So
yeah, Turf Moorhouse. Yeah, I do. I was asked. I think about 4 o'clock this afternoon. So yeah.
Are you on there as well? Are you on there?
I am on there.
Oh, so I'll be seeing you at 9 o'clock then.
Aye, Matt. Thank you very much for coming on.
Yeah,
I know this is probably your first podcast as well, but I do appreciate you coming on.
For you, I've been on the Irish Anfield Road podcast a couple of times in the past.
Oh, lovely. Polar Knights on Twitch says, "Wow, this is epic! It is the perfect evolution of beards."
Yeah, it's gone. Starts with me, goes up to you, and all the way around.
Thanks, Polar Knights. I'm not sure who's got the best one, really. But I assume it's one of those. Sorry,
Connor.
Yeah, I'd definitely say either Matt or Connor. I would say as well. But we'll leave it there. Thank you very much to everyone who's watched. Thank you to everyone in the comments as well. Steven Gerrard to Aston Villa has now been confirmed. We will watch with a pinch of salt what will happen. But until then, it's goodbye from all of us, and we will see you in the next video. Take care. Bye bye for now.
See you later, everyone.
Goodbye.